So, Melody, when you wrote Codependent No More in 1986, it came out of your experience working in addiction treatment centers in the US and also your marriage to an alcoholic. But clearly, the concept appeals to many more people than that because it sold 7 million copies. Why do you think its message is so popular and enduring?
It's when we get so caught up in our caring for others that our efforts are misguided, they don't work. We're struggling and we're suffering, but we choose to suffer in silence, especially with all the social media now. Who wants to go on social media and say, well, you all have really perfect looking relationships, mine sucks, you know? And nobody really wants to do that. We're all playing to who we think we should be. Not all of us, but many of us, who we think we should be, who we want to be, trying to be good enough, all this striving that can determine codependency.
So, can you just explain what the term codependent means to you?
It can mean so many different things. Like you say, originally it was used to describe people who had gotten overly caught up in their relationship with a person who had substance abuse issues. But it's grown so beyond that now. However, the things that people hold in common are the codependency characteristics or traits, feeling like we're responsible for other people's behavior, having this often misguided notion that we can control other people's behaviors. The more we love them, the more we think we have the power to control them. And that's just not so. Difficulty setting boundaries with people, difficulty knowing who we are and what we want, so we even know what boundaries we want to set with others. And I think you throw all of that in, let's just refer to codependency as an issue, but as the issue we're discussing in unprecedented, chaotic global times. I mean, we've got a real mess going on right now. Many of us inside of ourselves, inside of our homes, inside of our lives, and we don't quite know how to start swimming out of it into something better.
And so, nowadays people talk about the need for boundaries much more, don't they? So, do you think that the codependency is a result of not building boundaries? So, if you are not careful enough about yourself in your relationships or in maybe specific relationships, you can be said to be codependent.
Yes, if we're trying to please someone else with our boundaries, with what we're doing, we're not going to be pleasing someone, and usually that's us, ourselves. We're either going to make the other person mad when we say, no, I'm not okay with that, or we're going to make ourselves mad when we say, yeah, I'll do that, but we don't really want to do that. So it's being faced with the choice between loving ourselves and doing what we perceive is loving other people. And we often get that confused. Well, am I being selfish if I say I don't want to do this behavior for you? And we may be talking about a very enabling, harmful behavior, but sometimes it's hard to be clear on this and what we're doing that's not helpful to others and what we're doing that is. I think our ultimate guideline comes when we slow down long enough to check in with ourselves. How do we really feel? Who am I? Am I going so fast? Do I have so much anxiety that I don't even know who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing anymore? Am I just treading water in my relationships? And we have to go within to do the hard work. And sometimes it is really hard because usually tackling codependency means tackling many issues we've been working really hard to deny. Sometimes with good reason. If we have a child that's chemically dependent, that can be so painful and so scary right now with all the drugs out there and all the issues. I mean, people are going through a lot, and we've already been going through a lot. And then we throw a lot more in on top of that. And what you're dealing with is a group of people that are truly overwhelmed and can't really find that thread of life to start pulling on, that thread of sanity in life, where we feel blessed, we feel protected, we feel taken care of, and we have an overall sense that things are going to be okay. Oh.
But it starts with us.
Always.
Yes.
Oh.
And yet I feel that, and I think it's probably always been true, that people think, they fear that they will appear selfish if they put the focus on them and not on other people.
I've learned over the years that there's a very subtle yet skillful art to setting boundaries. I mean, when people start setting boundaries, they may get their big book out and their gavel and say, you know, I'm going to be setting boundaries now. And that just immediately ticks everyone off. Everyone goes, go away, go on with you. The more closely acquainted we can become with ourselves, with what we want, with who we are, with why we're doing what we're doing, with why we don't want to do certain things. And we don't need to explain all this to others. We just need to be comfortable with who we are. The easier it will be for us to set boundaries. I mean, we don't have to make this grand production that starts by getting everyone ticked off in the beginning. That doesn't work for me. No.
And do you think that things like social media are making that more difficult for people today?
When I grew up, we had to use the confines of our own imagination to imagine how much happier other people were than we are, and how much I'm lacking in life. Now everyone's got their social media sites designed to do that. Advertisers even say, yeah, buy all these products to make your friends jealous. So much of what we're doing is aimed at other people, not aimed at fulfilling our own path, making decisions that feel right to us. And when we're playing to the media, most people aren't being who they are. They're just not. They're either coming on with a lot of bravado, they're trying to sell something. I don't know. There's just been so much insanity. I mean, people used to want to have something fairly significant to claim when they went on media. And now it seems like they want to be on media, even if they're doing something totally insane that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, our world has become very disrupted. The number one thing I think that's important for us to do is to stay grounded in ourselves, into where we are, who we are, what we're feeling, what we want, and what we don't want. No, that doesn't feel right to me. I think ultimately our guidance for decisions comes from that quiet place in here. We can call it intuition. That's a pretty good name for it. It's just what are the decisions and choices that feel good to us? Not that we think we should make, because what will we do if other people find out we didn't do what we think we should have done because that's what they wanted us to do? I mean, our thinking gets so terribly convoluted. And the answer is in simplicity. Also, in this version of Codependent No More, something else significant has happened with codependency. And that's, we've discovered the impact of anxiety and PTSD and stress, and they're intricately intertwined with codependency. So much of this obsessive caretaking and controlling is done to relieve ourselves of anxiety and the burden we feel for being responsible for other human beings, and not being all that certain how responsible we are for ourselves and what that even means.
Have you been surprised to see how much more anxiety is talked about in recent years?
Yeah, I am thoroughly stunned. One thing that's interesting me over here in the United States is watching many codependency groups starting off with solid anti-anxiety training.
Mm,
You know, the number one thing you need to do is stay calm and in balance.
mm,
And then ways of doing that, of treating our anxiety and our whole nervous system better.
mm. So do you think basically we're just alert all the time because of phones and social media and tech and all of the things that have been, brought the changes of the 21st century?
We're not just alert, we're hypervigilant
Mm,
at every moment in time, like
mm.
waiting for the next thing to sting us.
Yeah, so in your, I mean, at this point in your life, do you have to make efforts yourself to avoid these things, or you're just completely onto that plane anyway?
Oh, I wish, I wish, I wish. I'm finding that my best response to anxiety and PTSD is proactive,
Mm,
to do things in advance that will calm me so I don't have to like run and look for a strategy when I'm in an anxiety attack. So I mean, it's a big job keeping myself calm in the world.
So what
But
would the proactive be? You mean to avoid or to, meditate or um
I have a yoga routine
mm,
that I do. It's 5 different poses, and I do 7 reps of each one. That,
mhm,
along with the breathing, that brings me into balance.
yeah.
I do 1 or 2 20-minute meditations every day where I recite a mantra I was given in transcendental meditation, because I've got such a monkey mind. Without the mantra, I mean, I can't just sit and look at a picture of a rose. That just
Mm,
annoys me. I need something that will keep my mind busy during the meditation. Transcendental meditation works really well, and I will do that once or twice a day. I
mm,
have my prayer time, my reading time. They're all things that feed my soul. We
mm,
get Somehow we get confused, and we think our happiness is inside our child, or inside our spouse, or inside our significant other, or inside this friend, or inside that friend. Our
mm,
happiness is in here. It's
mm,
inside each one of
mm,
us. When we start frantically looking for that happiness and that peace outside of ourselves, it's going to constantly elude us. And like I said, I don't know how we can even address codependency today without first addressing anxiety, because our anxious responses to situations are going to usually be fairly codependent.
mm,
We're seeing very strange things. I
mm,
think it's a combination of social media instilled narcissism
mm.
in both in children and in adults. Um, and parents are different now. Like, parents now are substantially different than my mom and parents when I was being raised. Parents now want their kids to like them. They want people to like them. That's I mean, it's starting to sound like codependency, but um, we want our kids to like us so much, we won't tell them anything that might tick them off or make them upset with us. And then pretty soon our kids are controlling us, or what we think. I think we've all gone a bit off, to be completely honest.
Mm.
We've all gone a bit off. And we're not going to get back on track until each one of us makes that decision to do that, to become aligned within ourselves, to find a group of people that maybe help and support us in doing that. We're not going to change the world in a big blow up. we're going to do it by doing one positive, helpful, healing thing at a time in our own world.